They wanted you to live in mental torment. Now they can't sleep without hearing your silence scream back at them. They laughed when you cried. They danced while you drowned. They whispered curses over your life, thinking their shadows could swallow your shine. And now, that same darkness they conjured is eating them alive from the inside out. Did they really think you were a joke? Did they think they could drag your name, break your mind, steal your glow, and get away with it? How dare they? How dare they come for someone the universe handpicked? Before we go any further, like this video, subscribe, and drop the number 77 in the comments if you feel it. If you know the storm they wanted for you is now flooding them. When you engage, it helps this message reach more chosen ones. Because YouTube pays attention when the chosen activate. Let's get this truth into the hands that need it. You ready? Let's go. This is not just karma. This is consequence. This is the universe doing what you didn't have to. Respond. This message is for every chosen one who never threw a punch but still delivered a knockout. You didn't destroy them with words, with shade, with force. You destroyed them with survival, with peace, with elevation. And now they're unraveling, slowly, quietly, painfully. They thought you were weak because you stayed silent, because you didn't clap back, because you tried to heal instead of hurt. But silence is not weakness, it's strategy. And you were backed the entire time. While you were crying in secret, breaking in silence, screaming in your own mind, the universe was collecting receipts, watching, listening, documenting. And now, the consequences are on schedule. They can't cope with what they did to you, not anymore. At the time, they felt powerful, arrogant, justified. They told themselves you deserved it. They convinced others that you were unstable, dramatic, too sensitive, obsessed. Oh yeah, they talked. They built entire narratives out of lies and envy. They recruited flying monkeys, put on performances, played the victim while stabbing you in the back with a smile. And for a while, it looked like they were winning, didn't it? Let's not lie, you did doubt yourself. You started asking, was it me? You questioned your own reality. You wondered if you were overreacting, and that's exactly what they wanted, to twist your truth until you couldn't recognize yourself. But deep down, you knew, that little voice inside you, that flicker of truth. That was your power whispering, you're not crazy, you're chosen. And now that power is speaking louder than ever, not through revenge, but through reflection, because while they're trying to sleep through whispers in the walls, you're resting in peace. While they're haunted by the faces of those they've harmed, you're glowing in alignment. And that glow, it burns them, it haunts them. It's not just what you survived, it's that you survived them. Chosen one, how can you still doubt your power? Be honest, you did. You thought you were cursed, you thought you were forgotten, but you weren't cursed. You were called. You weren't abandoned, you were activated. The universe pulled you out of rooms so it could go to work, and now that work is visible. The very people who laughed at your breakdown, they're cracking. The ones who tried to mentally destroy you can't even face their own thoughts. They wanted you tormented. Now they're tormented. They wanted you to break. Now they're shattered. They wanted you to lose your mind. Now they can't trust their own. This isn't cruelty. This is correction. And they're finally feeling the heat of everything they lit against you. Not because you wished it, not because you cursed them, but because energy always returns home. And this one came back carrying receipts, judgment, and fire. Stay watching, chosen one. This is just the beginning. So now, chosen one, Are you ready to feel this fully? Because what you're about to hear isn't surface talk, it's soul truth. This isn't just another message, it's a mirror. And if you know in your spirit that someone out there is crumbling under the weight of what they did to you, drop the number 77 in the comments to confirm the reversal. Every like, every comment signals to the algorithm that another chosen one is waking up. Let's flood the feed with light and let the truth reach the ones still questioning their power. And now, let's break this open piece by piece. Don't scroll away. If you're really chosen, you'll feel that magnetic pull to stay till the last word. Why? Because deep down, you already know this is about you. Let's get into it. Number 1. What they tried to do to you is happening to them, mentally. They wanted you to lose your mind. Now they're talking to shadows and begging their own thoughts to shut up. They said you were crazy, called you unstable, told everyone you were spiraling, falling apart, not the same anymore. But the truth? They were projecting. What they were really doing was planting seeds of destruction in your soil, hoping your roots would rot from within. And now, they're the ones being strangled by the vines they sowed. Their thoughts don't feel safe anymore. Their silence is too loud. Their nights are long, restless and haunted. And nobody's coming to save them, because the torment was never sent to you. It was meant for them all along. Chosen one, listen to me carefully. They are unraveling. Not physically, not socially, mentally. The battlefield is now inside their own head. What they once hoped to see happen to you is echoing in their own mind, like a punishment they can't pray away. The same chaos they tried to cloak you in is now crawling under their skin. You know that feeling you used to have, the tension, the anxiety, the confusion that made you doubt everything you thought you knew? Yeah, they're in that now, every day, every minute. It's not just guilt. It's spiritual payback. It's energetic exposure. They wanted your confidence to fracture. They wanted you to walk around paranoid, scattered, ashamed of your sensitivity. They whispered behind closed doors. They're acting different. They loved the narrative of your decline. And you felt it, didn't you? You knew something was off, but you couldn't explain it. You kept questioning yourself. Maybe they're right. Maybe I am broken. Maybe I am too much. But you weren't broken. You were targeted. You weren't unraveling. You were under psychic siege. And still, the universe never left your side. You were being held the entire time. While they laughed, plotted, and cursed you, the universe was gathering evidence. And now, that spiritual courtroom is in full session. And they're being handed the sentence they wrote with their own hands. You ever wonder why it's mental first? Why they're losing sleep, seeing things, jumping at shadows, hearing voices no one else can? Because that's where they tried to break you, in the mind. And that's exactly where the energy is circling back. Their own inner world is turning against them, just like they tried to turn yours against you. This is universal symmetry. This is karmic balance. And before you ask, yes, this is real. No, you're not imagining it. You're not being mean for feeling the shift. You're not delusional for noticing the darkness around them. Their smile is cracking. Their mask is slipping. They look fine, maybe, polished even, but you can see the glitch in their aura, that twitch in the eye, that stutter in the soul. Their spirit is tired. Their thoughts are screaming. And that's what they wanted for you. You didn't break. And now they are. Let's make this personal. They tried to mentally collapse someone chosen, someone marked. And I'm not talking about religious titles or fake spirituality. I'm talking about the real thing, the one the universe whispers to in silence. the one that glows even when they're crying, the one that still radiates power after being dragged through hell. And that's you. You're the reason their life is glitching. You're the reason their peace is leaking through the cracks of their performance. And yet, even now, you're still doubting your power. Why? Don't lie to yourself. You did doubt. You did wonder, why me? You looked up at the ceiling and asked the universe why it let them win for so long. You assumed your silence was weakness. Your pain was proof that you were unprotected. But it wasn't. The universe didn't forsake you. It focused you. It didn't silence you. It shielded you. You didn't lose. You learned. You didn't fall. You forged. Every great one went through it. They said Oprah was too emotional. They called Kanye crazy. They mocked Britney's breakdown, only to later admit she was being controlled. They demonized every visionary that dared to feel deeply. And you? You're walking that same path. Of course it made you doubt yourself. Of course it shook your sense of reality. Because that's the first place the enemy hits. The mind. And now that they're feeling what they prayed over you, they can't function. This isn't random. This is personal. And the reason it's hitting them so hard is because you didn't just survive. You glowed up in the exact space they tried to dim. They never thought they'd have to face themselves. They thought if they could shift the narrative, they'd stay safe. If they blamed you first, they'd never have to be blamed. If they gaslit you enough, you'd self-destruct before anyone could see the truth. But you didn't. You held your mind together with trembling hands. You whispered affirmations through sobs. You crawled your way back to self-worth. And now, while you're healing, they're unraveling. Why? Because truth has a timeline, and every lie they told about you has finally circled back to knock on their front door, disguised as anxiety, paranoia, and spiritual unrest. And guess what? No one's coming to help them. Because they aren't under attack. They're under correction. This is what justice looks like for the chosen. Not loud revenge, but quiet reversal. You don't need to throw shade. Your peace is doing the work. You don't need to expose them. Their mind is doing that for you. You don't need to tell your side. The energy has already started speaking. So next time that doubt creeps back in, remember this. They thought you'd lose your mind. Now they can't find theirs. They're spiraling in the same space they tried to drown you in. That's not coincidence. That's consequence. You're not crazy. You're not cursed. You were never the problem. You were the proof. So sit back, breathe deep, and watch the universe finish what it started. Because someone's having a hard time coping with what they did to you, and you didn't have to lift a single finger. You just had to survive. Number 2, no one's hurting them, and that's what's hurting them most. They said you were the problem. Now they're choking on the silence of a storm they started all on their own. No one's coming for them. No one's attacking. No one's even speaking their name. And yet, they're crumbling. That's the part they can't explain. That's the part tormenting them more than anything. The silence. The absence of a villain. The undeniable fact that you're not even touching them. And they're still falling apart. No curses. No drama. No payback. And yet, the walls are closing in. Chosen one, this isn't revenge. This is self-inflicted karma. The destruction they're living in, it's the exact blueprint they designed for you. And now the same foundation they tried to bury you under? It's cracking under their own feet. The bricks they stacked to crush your spirit? They're falling one by one over their head, with no warning, no exit, no mercy. And the wildest part, you're not even watching. You're too busy elevating, glowing, expanding, living. And that's what makes it hit even harder. because your silence is screaming, your absence is thunder, your peace is doing the punishment. They told the world you were dangerous, but now they're the one afraid to be alone. They said you were unstable, but now they're the one jumping at shadows and talking to ghosts. They said you were obsessed, couldn't let go, would never get over it. But guess who still checks your page in the dark? Guess who still dreams about your face, your strength, your refusal to break? You didn't hex them, you didn't curse them, you simply stopped engaging. You disconnected your energy, you stopped watering dead soil. You said, no more, and the second you pulled back, their world started glitching. Because they weren't just feeding off your presence, they were feeding off your reaction. You were the battery they were draining. You were the spark they stole to light their illusion. Your light gave their shadows something to perform against, and once you cut the cord, they were left alone with themselves. And let me tell you, chosen one, there is no punishment more terrifying than being stuck with your own untreated poison. You ever ask yourself, why do I still feel bad? Why do you catch yourself thinking, should I check on them? Let me answer that for you. Because you have a soul. Because you were never like them. Because empathy is embedded in your design. And they counted on that. They banked on you being soft enough to let them back in, weak enough to carry their guilt on your back. But not anymore. That guilt you feel, let it go. That empathy, keep it, but don't hand it to the one who tried to destroy you. Let the universe do what it's doing and stop interrupting justice with compassion. Because truth is, they never thought this day would come. They were too busy smirking, celebrating your silence, bragging about what they got away with. And now, that silence is all they hear. That silence is loud. Because that silence means no more fuel, no more control, no more chaos, no more you. They're not being punished, they're being revealed. And here's where I need to speak directly to you, because I know what your mind is asking right now. But if I didn't do anything, why does it still hurt? Why did I still have to lose so much? Let me break this down. Because you weren't just chosen, you were refined. You weren't just set apart. You were tested, polished, and activated. You weren't hurt because you were weak. You were targeted because you were powerful. Let that settle in. The universe has never left your side, not once, even when it felt silent, even when the nights felt too long and the voices in your own head got loud. The universe was watching. The universe was preserving your purpose, preparing the reversal, and letting them dig their own hole deep enough that you would never need to lift a hand. And now, that hole is their home. Not because you pushed them, but because they built it. This isn't drama. This is divine order. You didn't burn the bridge. You just walked off it, and the fire they lit at your feet turned around and swallowed their path instead. And the most brutal truth of all, they know it. They know you're not doing anything to them, and that's exactly what's destroying them. If you had hexed them, if you had smeared them, if you were obsessing over revenge, they could sleep better at night. They could say, it's because of them. They're attacking me, but instead, they've got no one to blame and nothing to fight, because the only person breaking them now is the version of themselves they refuse to face. And that's justice. So stop asking why. Stop doubting your power. Stop assuming this is just coincidence. This is the reversal. This is what it looks like when the energy flips, when the universe steps in, when the light you protected starts shining in places they tried to keep dark. They're breaking because you stopped breaking. They're spiraling because you stopped spinning. They're suffering because you stopped suffering for them. Let the collapse play out. Let the truth finish its work. You're not their judge, but you are their mirror, and the reflection is cutting deeper than anything you could ever say. Keep rising, chosen one. Keep glowing. Keep healing. Because no one is hurting them, and that's what's hurting them most. Number 3. They laughed while you cried. Now their own tears have no audience. They laughed while you cried. Now their own tears echo in an empty room, and no one's showing up for the breakdown they tried to choreograph for you. Remember those moments, chosen one, the ones that broke your chest wide open, the ones that made your breath shake, your hands tremble, your heart feel like it couldn't go another step forward. You cried in silence, and they celebrated it. You were collapsing, and they were clapping. You thought you were dying inside, but they saw it as entertainment. Your breakdown was their highlight reel. They laughed. Let that sit for a second. They laughed. When the weight was too heavy, when your world was falling apart, they were watching from the sidelines, amused, smug, unbothered, not because they were neutral, but because they were invested in your pain. They wanted to see you at rock bottom. They needed you there so they could feel tall while standing on your brokenness. But now the roles have reversed. Now they're the ones crying. Now they're the ones suffocating under the very pressure they once wished on you. And guess what? No one is answering their calls. The audience that once applauded their mask has gone silent. The crowd they built from gossip and lies, gone. Because when the villain becomes the victim of their own script, there's no applause left, only consequences. They're realizing something brutal. Sympathy isn't free. You don't get to earn it after mocking someone else's collapse. You don't get to demand it after denying it to those who needed it. They had no compassion for you. Now they're choking on the same emptiness they fed you. And you, chosen one, don't you dare feel guilty. Don't you dare wonder if you should check on them. Don't you dare ask, but what if they're really hurting? Of course they are. That's the point. The universe is surgical with energy. It gives back exactly what was sent. No more, no less. And while you were out here bleeding and trying to keep your soul intact, they were pouring salt into the wounds and calling it karma. They thought your suffering was a joke, a story, a warning to others. Don't be like them. Now look. Now they're the example. But they're learning what you already know. Suffering hits different when there's no one there to fake catch your fall. You went through it alone, with no one but the universe to hold your spirit steady. You cried yourself to sleep with no safety net, no fan club, no pity party, and somehow you still made it out. That's why they're breaking now, because you survived what was meant to destroy you. And now they can't survive the consequences of what they chose to do to you. And let's keep it all the way real. They didn't just enjoy your pain, they orchestrated it, pushed buttons, spread rumors, played innocent while planting chaos. Some of them got close to you just to study how to destroy you more effectively. And they smiled through it. How dare they? How dare they try to rewrite the story now that the heat is on their back? Now that they're losing sleep, watching their life glitch, trying to cry to a crowd that no longer exists? Let me ask you something, chosen one. Where was that compassion when you needed it? Where were the check-ins when you were crumbling? Where was the concern when your voice trembled and your eyes couldn't hide the weight you carried? It wasn't there. And now, it's not your responsibility to give it. Stop doubting the justice you're seeing unfold. Stop questioning whether you're wrong for not reaching out. Stop wondering if you're being cold or petty. You're not. You're being clear. The universe doesn't need your interference. It's doing just fine handling what needs to be handled. You don't need to add anything. You just need to stay out of the way. They laughed while you cried. They mocked while you healed. They performed while you suffered. Now, they're crying and no one's watching because they already burned the bridge between them and sympathy. They're not being ignored by accident. They're being isolated by design. That's what happens when your tears come after your cruelty. That's what happens when the storm you prayed for someone else becomes your own climate. Let them sit in it. Let them taste the silence they used as a weapon. Let them feel the void they created with their own intentions. They wanted to play God with your emotions. Now they're facing judgment from the only court that never misses. Universal balance. And you're rising. Quietly, powerfully, unapologetically, and your glow is proof that you were always covered, even when you thought you were alone, even when your hands were shaking, even when you questioned if you'd ever feel whole again. The universe was there, watching, recording, preparing, and now the reversal has begun. They loved being the villain in your story until the plot twisted and they were left alone in the scene, sobbing while no one clapped and no one cared. Let that movie play and don't go back for the encore. Your healing is the only ending that matters. Number 4. They wished ugliness on you. Now they're fading fast. They didn't just envy your beauty, they tried to curse it. Now they're watching their own reflection decay, while yours glows untouched by the storm they summoned. They spoke on your name like their words had power over your glow. They whispered, "Let them lose it, let them age, let them fall apart," out of jealousy, out of sickness, out of that deep, bitter place that can't stand to see someone shine without explanation. They tried to manifest your decline, thinking if they stared long enough, hated hard enough, you'd start to unravel. But here's the truth. They didn't hate your looks. They hated your light. They didn't resent your skin, your smile, your walk. They resented the energy you radiated, that undeniable presence, that unshakable aura, that unbothered frequency they could never copy, never dim, never control. And now, that jealousy has turned on them. The very thing they spoke over you is happening to them. The glow they wanted to see fade from your face is vanishing from their own. Their skin, dull. Their eyes, empty. Their energy, unreadable. Their whole presence now looks like the envy they tried to hide behind fake smiles and subtle shade. They're fading, quietly, slowly, but visibly. You ever notice how the loudest haters start going real quiet, start hiding behind filters, disappearing from rooms they used to dominate, posting less, shrinking in real time? That's not coincidence. That's return to sender. That's what happens when you direct dark intentions towards someone the universe protects. When you try to dismantle someone chosen not just for greatness, but for resilience. You were never just beautiful. You were anointed. And beauty that comes from alignment cannot be destroyed, only reflected back. They thought they could sabotage your shine through gossip, insecurity, and fake compliments laced with venom. You think you're better than everyone. You've changed. They're not even all that. You know the words. That low vibration shade disguised as concern. But they never said it to your face, because deep down they knew your light would burn through their illusions. They saw you walking into rooms and changing the atmosphere without saying a word, and they couldn't take it. So they tried to bring you down in the only way cowardice knows how, with whispers, not truth. But you just kept rising. You didn't need validation. You didn't shrink. And now their bitterness is rotting them from the inside out. And don't lie, you felt their energy. You felt eyes on you that didn't match the words in their mouth. You heard the shade behind the smile. You sensed the spell they were trying to cast when they laughed at your confidence. And still, you questioned yourself. You asked the mirror, am I really glowing or are they right? You doubted what the universe made permanent because their envy was louder than your clarity. But let's make something clear. Your glow was never just physical. It was never about the surface. Your beauty wasn't just in your features. It was in your essence, that unbreakable magnetic pull that comes from surviving hell without letting it stain your soul. And that's what they hated most. You didn't just look good, you felt good, even in pain, even in pressure. You still carried peace. They couldn't stand to see it, so they tried to speak it down, and the universe said, bet. Let's flip the mirror. Now they can't hide from the energy they put out. Now their reflection is answering their intentions. That curse they cast in secret, it's written in the way their body carries itself now. The glow they hoped would leave you has walked out on them, and you didn't have to lift a finger. Let me be brutally clear. You didn't hex them, they hexed themselves. You're not too pretty, you're just aligned. You're not too confident, you're just done apologizing for your frequency. And if they can't stand to see you glowing, that's their spiritual eczema flaring up. A reaction to your radiance. Chosen one, this is what happens when people try to sabotage sacred energy. The universe doesn't just block the curse, it reflects it, multiplied. So stop feeling bad. Stop feeling like you owe them grace for something they never gave you. They weren't complimenting, they were competing. And now that the light is getting stronger, their insecurity is cracking under the pressure. The mirror is no longer lying to them, and what they see is everything they tried to project onto you. Some of them are looking in the mirror now and seeing a ghost, not because they're haunted by your success, but because they finally have to sit in the absence of their own authenticity. They spent so long trying to copy your outer glow, they never cultivated their inner one. And when the universe dimmed their illusions, all that was left was what they truly were: hollow, bitter, unaligned. Let them deal with it. Let the mirror do its job. You were never too beautiful. They were just too broken to handle what real light looks like. The next time you catch your reflection, smile. Not because they're suffering, but because you survived without giving them what they wanted. You kept your glow. You kept your peace. You stayed on path. They wished ugliness on you. And now, they're watching their own reflection fall apart. That's not coincidence. That's the universe saying, touch not the one I crowned with light. Number 5. Accountability hits different when you can't outrun it. They always had someone to blame until the universe pulled the receipts and left them face to face with the one thing they've avoided their whole life: the truth. You know exactly the kind of person we're talking about. The type who weaponizes victimhood, who lies so much they forget what the original lie even was. The one who could burn your life to the ground and still find a way to make you look like the arsonist, the master manipulator, the spiritual escape artist, the professional blamer. But this time, there's no one left to point at. No scapegoat, no distraction, no fake sob story, no flying monkeys. Not even the demon that once whispered lies into their ear. Gone. It's just them now, alone in the ruins of what they built, and finally being forced to sit with the only thing they've always run from: accountability. Let that word hit for a second. Because for someone like them, accountability isn't just uncomfortable, it's lethal. They've lived their entire life dancing around it. Everything that ever went wrong in their world was someone else's fault. You were too emotional. You were dramatic. You were trying to play the victim. Oh, they had labels for you. They had full scripts rehearsed, just in case anyone started to believe your side of the story. And maybe they fooled a few people. Maybe they got away with the smear campaigns, the lies, the gaslighting for a while. Maybe they even convinced you, yes you, to carry the shame for what they did. But let me say this with my whole chest. That part of the story is over. The universe is not interested in their excuses anymore. The energy they put out has returned, and it's holding up a mirror. Not a gentle one, not a filtered one, but the kind of mirror that doesn't blink. The kind that shows every manipulation, every lie, every time they blamed someone else to avoid owning what they did. And chosen one, don't you dare doubt what's happening. Don't water down this justice. Don't second-guess the silence you're witnessing. This isn't you being cold or unforgiving. This is universal correction in real time. Because the truth is, you gave grace. You gave space. You gave chances. They called it weakness. They called it obsession. They twisted your forgiveness into a weapon. And now, they're spiraling. Not because you attacked them, but because they finally ran out of people to hide behind. You stepped back, and the truth stepped in. And truth has a way of turning the lights on in rooms they never thought anyone would see. They can't hide from it this time. It's all circling back. Conversations they thought were forgotten, screenshots they thought were deleted, patterns they thought no one could trace. The universe pulled the file, unsealed it, and is playing back every frame. And let me tell you, there's no escape clause in spiritual law. Energy doesn't care how good their apology would sound now. It only cares about balance. They don't get to shrug their shoulders this time. They don't get to cry misunderstanding. They don't get to play the "I was going through something" card. Because while they were going through something, they were trying to drag you through hell with them. Now they're learning the hard way. Intention matters. Energy knows. And karma is deaf to excuses. And you, yeah you, the one who still sometimes wonders if you were too sensitive, if maybe you overreacted, if maybe they didn't mean it. Stop that. Now, you weren't overreacting. You were under attack. You weren't too sensitive. You were spiritually alert. You weren't hard to love. You were hard to manipulate. And because you didn't let their energy kill your truth, the universe is now making them answer for every attempt. This isn't just karma. This is court. And the judge is energy itself. So let them sit in it. Let them finally feel the weight of what they did, with no one left to hand it off to. Let them stare into that mirror and see the real villain. The one behind the mask. The one who thought they'd never be exposed. They thought their charm would save them, that their lies would shield them, that their audience would clap for them forever. But when the curtain dropped and the show ended and you stopped reacting, all that was left was them and the truth. And chosen one, here's your final reminder. You didn't need to seek revenge. You were the justice. Your peace was the punishment. Your healing was the verdict. And your silence was the final sentence. They're not facing you anymore. They're facing everything they denied. And this time, there's no way out. Number 6. You broke a narcissist without touching them. You didn't scream. You didn't expose. You didn't fight dirty. You just kept breathing. And somehow that broke them worse than any weapon ever could. This section right here, this is personal, because let's call it what it is. You didn't just walk away from a broken connection. You survived a full-blown narcissist, a manipulator of the highest degree, someone so used to controlling every narrative, twisting every truth, and escaping every consequence that they genuinely believed they were untouchable. Until they met you. They've done this before. Let's not pretend you were the first. You were just the first one who didn't fold. Before you, there were others. Quiet victims, wounded souls, people left confused, isolated, gaslit into submission. They preyed on those who loved deeply and questioned slowly. They learned how to mimic love, how to weaponize sympathy, how to bleed someone dry and still make them say sorry. They were undefeated. But then came you, and you didn't even fight them the way they expected. You didn't play their game. You didn't expose them with screenshots, or drag them through social media, or assemble a crowd to shame them. No, you broke their cycle in the most dangerous way possible. You survived them. You walked away, quietly, firmly, powerfully. You cut the cord, and they felt the withdrawal like a soul-level detox. You were their favorite source of power, pain, chaos, and supply. You were the one they thought would never leave. The one they believed they'd always have some grip on, even if just through your heartbreak. But you healed. You stopped explaining. You stopped proving. You stopped reacting. And that silence shattered them. See, narcissists thrive on control. They need your emotions like oxygen, your anger, your pain, your confusion. It feeds them. So when you cut them off without giving them a performance, when you healed in silence, when you posted peace instead of pain, you didn't just take your love back, you took their power with it. They couldn't believe it. How could someone they tried so hard to break still be glowing? How could someone they slandered still be rising? How could someone they lied on still be respected? Because, chosen one, you're not like the rest. You're not easy to replace. You're not easy to forget. And more importantly, you're not easy to break. You were born with a different kind of soul, one that regenerates, one that rebuilds, one that's backed by something greater. They didn't realize they weren't just fighting you, they were fighting alignment itself. And now, the blowback is undeniable. They can't breathe without checking if you've moved on. They're spiraling, but there's no one left to gaslight, no one left to bait, no one left to puppet, because the one they used to drain for energy, that source has been disconnected, and the reality they were avoiding has finally arrived. You didn't need to destroy them. You only needed to survive them. And let me speak directly to you, because I know there's still that little voice inside whispering, but was it really that bad? Maybe I overreacted. Maybe they didn't mean to. Stop that. Now, you're not exaggerating. You're not too sensitive. You're not making it up. You walked through emotional warfare disguised as love. You survived psychological sabotage dressed as concern. You were dealing with someone who studied your heart just to manipulate it. And the fact that you're still standing, that's divine proof of your power. That's what broke them. Because they were betting on your collapse, they were counting on your destruction, and instead, you resurrected. And now they're left with a streak that's finally broken. You were the crack in their mask, the disruption to their pattern, the mirror they couldn't manipulate. They thought they'd win like they always do, and instead, they've lost the one thing they never expected: your energy. So let them unravel, let them obsess, let them try to rebuild the image they maintained for years, the one your survival exposed as fiction, because the truth is loud now, and every time you show up in peace, in clarity, in joy, you're reminding them, I survived you, and that alone is your legacy. You didn't just walk away, you ended the cycle. You didn't just survive, you shattered their illusion, and they'll never recover from that. Number 7. You kept thinking you were alone, but the universe was quietly watching. You thought you were alone, but the whole time, the universe was standing in the shadows, taking notes and loading consequences. Let's stop playing. Let's stop pretending you didn't cry out, "Where is the help?" Let's stop acting like you didn't ask the ceiling why you had to suffer while the liars laughed. Let's stop sugarcoating the truth. Because you did doubt. You did feel forsaken. You did start to believe the silence meant abandonment, that nobody saw what they were doing, that the betrayal was going unchecked, that somehow you were the one left behind. And now, it's time you get checked. Because the silence wasn't abandonment, it was protection. The delay wasn't punishment, it was precision. You weren't alone, you were being watched over with militant intention. They weren't just fighting you, they were swinging at the shield surrounding your destiny. They were throwing hands at your spiritual insurance policy, and now it's time to pay the deductible. You kept thinking the universe didn't care, that it just let them win. But no, chosen one, it wasn't letting them win. It was letting you witness their real character. The universe needed you to see it raw, without illusion, without denial. Not because it wanted you to suffer, but because it was setting you up for a permanent disconnection. Some people are too slick, too spiritual sounding, too manipulative. You wouldn't have walked away without proof. So the universe let it unfold, not to break you, but to open your eyes. And while you were breaking in silence, it was building your case in secret. While you were asking, "Why me?" the universe was preparing, "Watch this." While you were begging for a lifeline, it was collecting receipts. And now it's delivering the reversal in broad daylight. And you better not act surprised. You prayed for peace. You asked for justice. You cried for clarity. And now that it's coming, don't you dare act confused. They thought no one saw them. They thought no one would check them. They thought they could disrespect you and walk off with no consequences. But what they didn't know, and what you forgot, is that the universe has perfect aim. It doesn't yell. It doesn't rush. It doesn't show up with cameras or confetti. But when it moves with surgical precision. And that silence you mistook for absence, that was the calm before the correction. Chosen one, let me be brutally honest with you. You insult your own power every time you say you were alone. You disrespect your journey every time you say the universe forgot about you, because you were never unprotected. You were being hidden in plain sight. You weren't overlooked. You were being obscured from the people who would have sabotaged you too soon. You weren't delayed. You were being prepared in silence while the wrong ones exposed themselves in real time. That wasn't abandonment. That was strategy. Think about it. Had the universe answered your prayers for relief too early, you might have gone back. You might have given them another chance. You might have apologized for bleeding after they stabbed you. You might have stayed tied to trauma, thinking it was your job to fix what you didn't break. That's why the silence lasted so long, to make sure the lesson landed. To make sure when you walked away, you'd never crawl back. And now they're being judged. Not just by karma, not just by consequence, but by their own reflection, their own instability, their own actions. They're drowning in the very thing they wanted you to suffocate in. And you're watching from the sidelines, not because you're bitter, but because you're done. Done explaining, done shrinking, done begging the universe to hurry up. Because now you know it was never late, it was never missing, it was always watching. So don't cry about the silence anymore. Don't curse the process. Don't call the delay a failure. That silence, That was your divine protection plan. That was the invisible army securing your future while your enemies thought you were unguarded. That was the blueprint being written in the background. So next time that voice creeps in and says, "You were alone," shut it down. Say it out loud. "No, I wasn't. I was being avenged in silence." And the ones who thought they could swing at you with no consequences, they didn't just fight you, they fought the force backing you. And that, chosen one, is a war they were never built to survive. And now, chosen one, you see it clearly. The silence wasn't weakness, it was warfare. The pain wasn't pointless, it was positioning. Everything they tried to bury you with has become the very soil that grew your power. Let them face what they created. You stay focused, stay elevated, and never forget who you are. If this hit your spirit, like the video, subscribe, and drop the number 77 in the comments to confirm that the reversal is real and alignment is in motion. Share this with another chosen one, because when we rise together, truth travels further.